and welcome to our Gifts in a Jar class. Debbie and I are super excited to have you here. We hope you feel like you're right here in the kitchen with us while you're comfortable in your own home. So let us show you the 3 things we're going to be teaching you how to do. First, we're going to be teaching you how to do these really cute herb gardens in a jar. Then Debbie's going to show you how to do these super cute lanterns in a jar where you can put in all sorts of cute Christmas things. Very practical. And then finally, we're going to be showing you some meals in a jar, but our favorite one that we're going to be showing you is just like a soup you can get at Olive Garden, because who doesn't need a little Olive Garden in their food storage? So, pull up a chair, get ready, and let's begin. Okay, when I saw this idea of doing an herb garden in a jar, I just knew I had to share it with you, because how awesome is it to have herbs next to your sink or in your house all year long? It's a perfect food storage. So this is one I wanted to share because I actually was able to find some peppermint, and I think that would be the cutest gift to give to a teacher or a friend or a family member that's hard to find, because peppermint has so many benefits. Plus, it's totally festive. Just put some red ribbon around it, tie on a little candy cane, and you've got it made in the shade. So let me show you how we're going to do this. You're going to need an empty quart jar, wide mouth, so you can get your plant inside it. You're going to need some just little rocks that we're going to put at the bottom of the jar for drainage. I just got these from my backyard free. The next thing you're going to need is some potting mix, not to be confused with potting soil. You want the potting mix because it has the vermiculite and things in it that help hold the moisture inside a small container. If you have a square foot garden in your backyard with Mel's Mix in it, that's what I have, and it's free. Okay, and then you're going to need a pot. Now let's talk about where you're going to find your herbs, maybe when it's winter outside. A lot of times grocery stores will actually have these in their produce section in a little pot that you can buy. They're usually anywhere from $3 to $4, and that's going to be a really easy way for you to get a herb, or check your garden center, but most time those garden centers have now been turned into Christmas centers. So this is some sage. I really like sage. It's great for your holiday baking. And so we're going to start by putting in our rocks. You're going to want about 2 inches of rocks at the bottom of your jar. Now the rocks help to make sure that the water drains, and so we don't get mold and nasty stuff like that in our jar. Okay, so we're about there. Okay, we've got our 2 inches of jars. Shake it down. Okay, then we're going to put in a little bit of our potting mix, because our jar is not going to reach all the way down in there. Now mine's still a little moist, and that's good. You're going to want to get that right in there. It's okay if it gets a little messy. This is supposed to be gardening. It doesn't all of a sudden turn not messy because we're doing it inside. Okay, then I'm just going to cut off their label here, because we're going to have to soak and take the plant out of this, because you see it doesn't fit in the jar as it is right now. So we're going to need to soak, especially if it comes in these that have the little cardboard containers that they come in that are really handy when you put them in a garden, because they just biodegrade after you put them in. And because we want to give our plant a good soak, this is always a great tip, even when you're gardening, because you want those roots and things to be real nice and soaked, so when you get them in, it reduces their transplant shock. Now if you want to do an herb like cilantro, which is also a really nice herb to have year round, you're going to want to plant that from seed, because that tends to get a little bit more of the shock that we're trying to avoid. Some other good herbs that you can do are obviously basil, oregano. One of the ones that I have planted over here is pineapple sage, and I love pineapple sage because it has these bright, beautiful red flowers, and because the leaves actually really smell like pineapple. So it's really fun. You can add it to salads and all sorts of fun things, and it gives a really unique flavor that people can't quite guess where you are getting it from. So you're going to want to just keep pulling off the lid, and once you get that off, or not the lid, but the container that it comes in, Once you get that off, you're going to want to start sort of gently softening up the dirt and the root stock so that we can get it into our jar. Okay, give it one last little drink, get it real soft and manageable. Then we're going to place it in our jar. And you're going to have to sort of squeeze it a little bit and get it right down in there. Now it's okay that it's wet. We want it to be wet. We want those roots to be real soft and manageable. We can always clean that up with a paper towel. Then we're going to put a little more dirt here on top. Just like that. Okay, so let's talk about how to make this cute, right? Because we're giving it away as a jar, or even cute just to have on our kitchen counter. I got some of this burlap ribbon just at the Target dollar section, you know, there with Spot, our good friend Spot. I'm just going to put it around the middle of the jar and attach it in the back. You can use tape, or if you're a fancy scrapbooker, those glue dots, or hot glue guns, or anything that you might want. Then to attach a little tag, I actually just have one of these little things you use to tie up your turkey with the stuffing. You get them at the 99-cent store or the Dollar Tree. And also this tag that I picked up at the Target dollar section. I just wrote on the back that it's sage with the chalkboard marker. Also from the Target 99-cent section, you're going to notice a theme going throughout this class. We were able to find a lot of great, cute decorating things there. And just stick it in your pot with the little happy holidays sage on the back. Make sure you tell them not to overwater it. That's actually why most plants die, because we get a little overzealous in our watering. And as you know, if you've ever grown herbs before, they can be a little bit of a weed in terms of they grow really big and then grow really fast. You're going to want to make sure and keep trimming this back and actually using it in your everyday cooking. That's why we love this, because it's for everyday, for emergencies, and a great part of your food storage.
Thanks, Crystal, for that great segment on herbs in a jar. Now I can be just like Pioneer Woman and have fresh herbs right in my kitchen. I'm really excited about this next segment. We are going to learn about how to do these incredibly beautiful and useful oil lanterns in a jar. So I've done them in a couple different ways. You'll see cute little ones. I have medium-sized ones, big ones, and little ones. Something for everyone. So this is how they're so easy to make. You're just going to use any size mason jar that you want to use with lids and lamp oil, of course. This is liquid paraffin. I just picked mine up from Walmart. The big jar was about $6, and it will do actually one of each size with the one big jar. And the good thing about this kind of oil is that it stores indefinitely, whether it's in the hot or the cold. So it's a great way to add preparedness into your food storage and gift giving. And the other great thing is these kind of jars you could actually use for decorating year round, no matter what the holiday is. So let's get started on learning how to make it. So you're going to start out with just an empty jar and a lid. Now the lid has to have a hole in it for the wick to come through. So you're just going to put the lid on the top, screw on the ring so that it will hold it in place, and you use a little teeny tiny screwdriver to make the initial hole. I have actually a little mark in the middle of mine, so I make sure that I get it in the middle of my jar. And then you're just going to pound it. So it just makes a little indentation, and then use a little bit bigger Phillips screwdriver, put it right in there, pound again until you've got a little hole right in the middle, which is exactly what you want. You don't want the hole to be too big, because if it's too big, your wick will fall through. So you want it to be just about the diameter of the wick that you're planning on using. One thing about wicks, I'm going to tell you the not to-dos, because I started out with the not to-dos. The not to-dos are to get things that are not cotton. If you get them and they're nylon, they will just burn down. It looks like they're working, and then they'll go out because they don't suck up the oil. You just need cotton ones. So shoelaces don't work. This kind of cording that looks like it might work doesn't work. You can use, this is a lantern wick, and I use these. I just cut them down until it fit in. I just made long strips and put them in my jars. But we're going to be giving you a great link to a website where you can just go and buy the wicks in bulk. They're really easy and they're replaceable. And the wicks actually will last a really long time. Okay, so after you've got your hole in the jar, you're going to cut your wick the length of your jar just a little bit taller. And it's going to go down in the bottom of your jar, but you are going to take it and put it up through the middle of your lid before it gets all yucky. And put it in, and it's just going to hang. Set it aside. Well, fell out. That's okay. We'll put it back in. Then you set it aside. When I do the natural ones like this, I usually start putting some bigger stuff in the bottom. It kind of gives it an anchor. The great things about these is you can just use whatever you found. I happen to get a package of these little mini pine cones, and it came with little red things, and it also came with little cinnamon sticks, and so it gives it a really natural look. You do need to put your wick down inside there so that it goes all the way to the bottom, so it will soak up the oil. And I have a knot in the bottom, so it helps give it a little bit better anchor. So you put it down there, put some stuff around it so it holds it in place, and then you just start filling your jar with whatever you want to put. I've actually picked some pine needles just off a tree, but the needles were really, really long. And so I actually took scissors and trimmed them down so that it looked a little bit more bushy and a little bit more festive instead of so long and leggy in my jar. But it really is up to you and what you want to have in your jar. You can put little red balls. You can put bells that this time of the year can get them in all different colors. And you just start sticking things in, making sure that your wick stays in the middle. You kind of put stuff around them, making sure that you have color or whatever around. You could keep it all green. You can just keep it with whatever you want to put in there. It just depends on your particular style and what you're looking for. So I like to have a little bit of color, so I do put colored things around inside mine. And I like the red, gold, and green kinds of stuff. So that's all. You're just going to stick them in until you've got your jar mostly filled as much as you want to fill it in. And remember, the more stuff you have in your jar, the less oil you'll have in your jar. So the less oil that you have, the more that you'll have to refill it for it to work. All right, I've got my jar pretty as filled up as I want. I've got my wick at the top, and I'm just going to take my lamp oil and I'm just going to pour it in until it comes up to the top. As you're pouring, you're going to kind of pour it over your wick so that it will get nice and soaked. The oil pours in really, really easy, and it's a non-smell, a non-scented oil. You can get candle scents at the store if you wanted to do that, to add into your little candle that you're making. All right, so now I'm taking my lid. I'm going to use the silver one, and I'm just going to poke my little wick through my hole, and that's it. You don't want your wick to stick out very much. The longer your wick is, the bigger your flame is going to be. And believe me, the flames can get really long, almost like a torchlight. So you just want it to barely stick out the top. Now that we've got the bottle all filled up with oil and our beautiful decorations, we are getting ready to decorate it and then light it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just wipe off the top a little, make sure there's no extra oil. I'm going to take some cute little string and just tie it around really simply above where or below where the fire is going to be. Just really cute, and I'm just going to add a cute little Merry Christmas sticker to the front. That's all there is to making it and decorating it. Now I'm just going to use my little handy dandy lighter and light my candle. I am reminding you that these are candles, so they are dangerous for kids. Make sure that you put them up and that they're always attended. Don't leave them unattended. Other than that, you've got a beautiful gift that you can bring light into your home, into the homes of your family and friends. Merry Christmas!
Okay, so for our final one, we wanted to show you obviously our own little spin on the mixes in a jar that are so commonly given around this time of year. What made us think of it really is that I was at Walmart and now you can buy them, which to me seems so silly because they're $5 each and they don't make a lot, and we can definitely do this at home with food storage, a whole lot easier and better tasting. Now, how did we come up with the recipes that we chose? Well, we went through a lot of books, we searched through a lot of recipes online, and quite frankly, in the end, we ended up making our own because, I don't know about you, Debbie and I both couldn't really get excited about the whole beans in a jar because to me, if someone's giving me a gift, it's because the holidays get really busy and all of a sudden I don't have enough time to make dinner, and wouldn't I like to just pull off that gift that my neighbor gave me and have a meal really quickly. Plus, if we are practicing using these really quick meals, this is also really great practice for those times when maybe there's no power or something and we're getting a little preparedness in there as well. So we have a really great creamy tomato basil tortellini. We were able to get the tortellinis at Winco for half the price of what they're going to be down your pasta aisle in their bulk section. And we use tomato powder, which is really great for making, adding a little tomato-ness to your recipes. You can make spaghetti sauce, tomato paste out of it, along with some powdered milk and dry onions. So all of these recipes, all the dinner recipes for sure, all you need to do is add water, which was a must for Debbie and I. This recipe we're not going to show you, but we are going to have it on the handout you can download on our site at www.storethisnotthat.com. The other one that we have is obviously a wonderful dessert mix. Now this brownie mix is a brownie mix that you can actually use throughout the year. You don't need to buy brownie mix anymore. We're going to use powdered eggs in it, flour, cocoa, and the only thing that you'll need to add to it is water, oil, and vanilla. Now we added in some yummy mix-ins like Christmas M&Ms and some mint Oreos, which make them really good. And of course, what family is not going to see those mix-ins and want to make it right away? Again, we're not going to show you how to do this one, but we do have it on our handout that you can download. Now the one that we're going to show you is the most unique one that we have seen, and that is a knockoff of Olive Garden's Zuppa Toscano soup. It is so delicious. If you want to see how it looks, here it is in this plate. It features potatoes, kale, Italian sausage, and we're going to do it all from our food storage. Now, the number one thing that we need is we're going to need some kale, and we're going to need it dehydrated. So Debbie's going to show us how you can use a microwave to quickly dehydrate or dry your kale so that we can add it to our recipe.
Okay, for this section, I'm going to show you how to dry your kale in the microwave. Super easy, super fast. Some of the recipes that we saw on the internet actually use spinach in this recipe, and we're just letting you know right off the bat, if you're going to use it fresh, go ahead and use spinach. But if you're going to try drying it in your microwave, don't do it. We're not going to tell you how you know this, but let's just say it catches on fire in your microwave. So just stick to the kale. So when you're going to do the kale, you're going to just use 2 leaves for the whole recipe. You're going to rinse it off and kind of pat it dry, and you're going to pull the rib part off. And then you're just going to lay it out in a single layer on a paper towel. Super easy, super fast. Okay, now that you've got your kale all laid out on a paper towel, it's a double layer of paper towel, you're going to top it with another layer that will help absorb the extra moisture when you're first starting. You're just going to put it in your microwave, and you're going to put it on a minute on high, and then you're going to check it. Okay, so it's been a minute. We're just going to check and see what it looks like, and as you can see, it's still really limp. We don't want limp, we want crunchy. So we are going to put it back in for another minute and check it again. Okay, now it's been we've added 2 minutes. We're going to check it again and see how it's doing. So, as you can see, it's still pretty limp. And my paper towel is really damp. So I'm actually going to move my stuff from this damp paper towel onto my dry top one so that it can finish drying a lot faster. It will dry with the really wet one, but it will take longer. I'm just putting it back in. I'm not putting the cover on it this time. I'm going to do it for just 30 seconds at a time from this point on, just so it doesn't overcook. Okay, it's been 30 more seconds, and we're going to go ahead and check and see how it's doing. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's starting to get a little bit crunchy, but some parts are still not crunchy. So we're going to put it in for 30 more seconds, just to make sure it's totally dry. If you have any moisture in it when you put it in there, it can cause mold and other things, and we don't want that to happen. One other great thing about drying herbs in the microwave is that you can do cilantro and other kinds of herbs, besides spinach, of course, and dry them out, and they have a much fresher taste than what you're going to be able to get at the grocery store. It's also a great way to be able to dry extra herbs that you have growing at your house or in your tabletop jarred herbs that you now have growing in your kitchen. All right, here we go. Let's see how it is. Oh, can you hear that? Crunch. That's what we're looking for. You see, it just breaks easily. Okay, it's all good. We're good to go.
Okay, super thanks to Debbie. We have our dried kale, so we're ready for the recipe. The next thing we're going to talk about is how we're going to get Italian sausage into this, right? Because as far as I've seen, no one's really been able to come up with a really cute way to attach a can of meat or something to those mixes in a jar. So we're going to go ahead and use our freeze-dried Italian sausage. Now, Debbie picked this up from Emergency Essentials. She actually got a smoking deal on it. It was $25. She got it on a group buy. So when you're searching companies, Debbie and I are a fan of you search and you buy it from the best and cheapest company, or I should say cheapest, but the best price company out there. Emergency Essentials has group buys. She was able to pick this up for only $25. Normally they're like $45 to $50 a can. So if you're looking for some great bulk things, get together with some friends and do a group buy at Emergency Essentials. Now we're going to need some potatoes because, right, this is a potato sausage and kale soup. Now, the original recipe uses potato slices, which we could have done, but they're not going to fit in our jar very well. And so we decided to use the dehydrated potato dices. Now we like the potato dices over the freeze-dried ones because we know you're going to start thinking, I have freeze-dried ones and I'm going to use them, but let me show you the difference between the freeze-dried. They are a lot bigger, so they're not going to fit in your jar. And when you push on a freeze-dried potato, look what happens. Oh, there it went. I think that the freeze-dried potatoes have a little bit more of like a clumpy mashed potato taste. I really like the dehydrated potatoes because they have a better flavor. And if you think about it, because they're so much smaller, this is actually, let me clue you in, a little tip here when it comes to dehydrated fruits and vegetables versus the freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. When you look at a can for can, you're going to think, well, they're about the same price, or the freeze-dried's like $1 or $2 more, and so I'm going to get the freeze-dried one. But in that can, you are getting almost double to 3 times, depending on what the product is, in your can. So really, you're always going to be getting a better deal on the dehydrated if it's something that you like the taste of, which for us is always, I am no doubt always dehydrated potatoes. We get it, right? I love dehydrated potatoes. So we're going to use that, and we're also going to use some potato flakes, not the potato pearls that are flavored, but just the regular potato flakes to thicken up the soup, because originally this recipe called for a cup of cream, which, while we love the Gossner's whipping cream because it's shelf stable, not going to work really well poured into our jar. So we're going to use those mashed potatoes to help thicken up our soup. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix our dry powders together first. And that is going to be some mashed potato flakes. You can get all of the exact measurements on your handout. We're going to do some dry chicken bouillon. Cannot be the better than bouillon or a moist one. It's got to be one that can be store on your shelf, so it can store on someone's shelf inside this jar. We're going to throw in a little powdered milk because you all know I love sneaking in powdered milk. Nobody ever knows it, and it's so great. And we're also going to put in a little cornstarch. So that's going to be our other thickener. And the great thing about it is, if you notice, we haven't put anything in this soup that has gluten in it. So ding, 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 it is also gluten-free. Another wonderful added benefit. So it means you can give it to basically anybody, and hopefully they won't have any problems with it. Then we're going to put in our savory spices. We put in a little pinch of red pepper. Now the sausage we used was spicy sausage, and if your family is not into spicy, Emergency Essentials does carry sort of a regular mild Italian sausage, and you obviously can put in as much or as little red pepper as you want. We also put in the dehydrated onion flakes. Again, store this, not that. Store this, the dehydrated ones, not the freeze-dried ones. More in a can, cheaper, right? Remember? Okay, and then also you can pick up some dehydrated minced garlic, or you can also just put in some powdered garlic, but the best place to get that dehydrated garlic is down your Latino aisle at your grocery store. It's cheap, like in a little Tampico bag. That's the way to do it. So we're going to throw that in here. We're just going to give it a little stir. So we get all these. It's really important that we get this all incorporated, because that powdered milk, if you put it in as its own layer and they pour it in, it's going to clump in the water. That's going to give away our powdered milk, and we don't want to do that. So go ahead and give it a good mix, and then we're ready to start layering in our jar. So make sure you have a clean, wide mouth, so it's easy to put stuff in a jar. And we're going to start by putting in half of our potato dices. Now, one way to make this really easy is to quickly make a funnel just out of paper and tape so that you can pour your stuff in. Regular funnels have a little bit too small of a hole and things can get stuck. So we're going to give it a shake. We want it to be all even and as settled as possible. Then we're going to put in half of our dry ingredients. That looks about right. And give it another shake. You always want to do this when you're filling the jars, because most of the time it's going to go right up to the top and you want it as settled as possible. Then we're going to put in our freeze-dried sausage. So it's right there in the middle, very obvious and looks really yummy. Okay. Again, a little shake. Then we're going to put the rest of our potatoes in. Shake it down. Okay, and then we're going to add the rest of our dry ingredients here. Pour that in. Okay, you'll see we have just a little bit of room at the top to put in our kale. Now we want to put the kale in at the top because when they go to make this recipe, or you're going to want to pull the kale off first and cook this. The kale goes in at the end, right? We don't want mushy, overdone kale. So you're just going to take your kale, stick it in the top. If you want to try and push it down a little bit so they can see it down the side of the jar, that works too. Okay, put this in. You can hear it crinkling like Debbie said, which is good. But I'm telling you, nobody's giving out a soup like this Christmas. So if you want to be totally different, and in a good way different, a little bit gourmet. Okay, now we're going to put the lid on top and use the ring to screw it on tight. And you can see it looks so good. You can see the kale on top, our creamy sauce, potatoes, sausage. It looks delicious. Now, to finish it off, you can do the fabric on the rings. I'm not a big sewer, so I don't always have extra material around, and we want to give it kind of a fresh twist. So we're just doing ribbon, which again, we found all this stuff Target dollar section. So easy. A little tag you can just tie in right here. Oops, gets stuck. Give it a little wrinkle there. And you've got a really cute jar to give to somebody. Now make sure that you include the instructions on the back of the jar. And the instructions are going to be so easy, they're going to love it. Which Debbie's actually going to show us how to make this soup, because we promise you, once you try this soup, you're going to want it in your kitchen and you're going to want to give it to your friends.
Okay, now we're going to learn how quick and easy it is to make this delicious soup that Crystal just showed you how to do. So as she said, we're just going to take the kale right off the top of the soup and just put it in a little bowl, because that's not going to go in until the last 10 minutes of cooking. You're just going to dump now the entire contents into a big pot and add in 10 cups of water. You're going to turn on the heat. On high heat, give it a stir, and wait for it to come to a boil. Before I put the lid on so it can come to a boil faster, I just want you to see how good it looks even before it's cooked. All right, it's come to a boil now, and it just is already starting to smell so delicious. I can smell the spices from the sausage, and the creaminess is just great. So now we're gonna just turn it off for 20 minutes and let the potatoes and the onions all rehydrate slowly. It gives you a better flavor and a better consistency of the freeze-dried and then dehydrated meats and vegetables. All right, it's been 20 minutes, so we're gonna get ready for the last part of cooking our soup. This is when we're going to be adding the kale. You're just going to put it in and kind of smash it up a little so it's smaller pieces, so you don't have big old huge clumps of kale, because I don't really like kale that much. I like it in little bits and pieces. And because it's so nice and crunchy, it just easily breaks up into my pot. Then I'm going to bring it to a boil and let it, after it comes to a boil, it's going to simmer for 10 minutes, and then it's time to eat. Hi everyone, it's cooked for 10 minutes. We've dished it up into our bowls, and here's what it looks like done. Nice and thick and delicious. And
we wish you had smell-o-vision, because it's so good.
So true.
So we want to thank you for joining us for our class day. We hope you came up with at least one good idea, but hopefully 3 good ideas that you can use for yourself, for your neighbors, or for people that are kind of hard to think of something really cool to give to. If you need more information or to download our handouts, make sure you check our website at www.storethisnotthat.com. Make sure that you already like us on Facebook, because we will be giving away a couple jars of this for you to try yourself, of the Zuppa Toscana Olive Garden soup. And remember, our book, Store This Not That, comes out January 12th. It would make a great Christmas present. From Debbie and myself, Crystal, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and bon appetit.